We're gonna get to work on this. First thing we need to do is cook the beef. So I have got a pan here over about medium-high heat. I'm gonna go into there with about a teaspoon or two of oil. You don't need too much. We're using lean ground beef. Lean ground beef has enough fat in it that some is gonna render out and help that beef cook, but it's not so fatty that it's gonna be kind of soupy. So I'm gonna go into the pan with that ground beef. And then as soon as that gets in there, I wanna start breaking that up just with the side of a wooden spoon. Now I am using 454 grams of lean ground beef, which is unfortunately what a pound rounds down to in the world of grams. So I'm just gonna break that up. You see that caramelization already starting. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna season this, but I'm gonna season this a little differently than you might think. I'm gonna go in with some pepper for a little bit of that heat, a little bit of that smokiness. Then I'm gonna go in with some of the classic flavors that I feel like this kind of burger buddy tastes like. So the first thing I need is about a 1/4 teaspoon of some chili powder, a little bit of chili powder, super tasty. I also need about a 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika, which to me is like the bacon of my spice cupboard, always good. And then I'm also gonna go in with a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. I don't actually wanna use fresh garlic here. I like the garlic powder. It gives a nice kind of roasted garlic flavor without really having to do anything. All right, that's looking great. Gonna give that a mix to combine. Now you'll notice, I said I was gonna season this, but I haven't added any salt. And that's because whenever I'm cooking ground beef, I don't actually like to season it with salt yet. I season it with salt a little bit later. If I were to add the salt in now, it tends to kind of draw moisture out. That's usually what's happening when you're adding salt early in a cooking process. When you add it to onions, say, when you're cooking those down, it helps draw out a little bit of that water to help them cook down faster. I don't want the moisture of this beef to cook out, so I'm not gonna put that salt in yet. I am gonna season it later once it's cooked off though. So let that beef do its thing for, I'd say about maybe 10-ish minutes just while it cooks. So while that does its thing, I'm gonna chop up my onion. So I have got one yellow onion here. I love a yellow onion. It's my house onion, is what I would call it. I got a house yellow and a house red, you know? I'm just gonna dice that up. And when I buy my onions, I always buy them in this weird like fishnetty bag. They have a consistent size. They're reasonably sized, because I don't know about you, but anytime I go to the grocery store and try to buy just one white onion, it's the size of my head. And I'm like, I don't need that much onion. So typically if I'm saying in my recipes 1 onion, it's usually one of these onions. So a little bit more of a normal size. Definitely really, really choppable, usable. They also last a good long time because they are dried. So they last a good time in your pantry. All right, that's looking great. Now I am going to just transfer this beef aside because we've got some that's already cooked. You see those spices doing their thing? And then when the beef gets to this point, nice and cooked down, looking caramelized and absolutely beautiful, this is when you want to season it with some salt. So I'm going to go in with a pinch of salt just to get that nice and seasoned. And I'm also just gonna give that a stir. Now at this point, the beef is done. It's looking great, golden brown. It is cooked through. So I'm gonna set that beef aside because we're gonna build the rest of the dish in this pan. One of my favorite things about this dish, whether you buy it boxed or make it from scratch, is it's a one-pan supper. And we love a one-pan supper. It's a dream, right? Set that beef aside. Try to get as much as you can out. Anything that doesn't is totally fine. It'll all come together in the end. And then I'm gonna go in with just a titch more oil. There's still some oil in there. There's a little bit of beef fat, which is looking absolutely beautiful. But I'm gonna add my onion on into that pan just to get that cooking down as well. So while that gets cooking, this is where you do want to add salt immediately. Because those onions have a ton of moisture in them, we actually do want to draw that moisture out to let them cook down and caramelize quicker. Add the salt right away. Season them as well with a little bit of pepper. Again, that salt will season them a bit, but mainly here it's just to draw out that moisture, help them cook down. Super, super good. Give that a stir to combine. And you want those onions to cook down for about 5 to 6 minutes, just until they're a little bit tender and looking beautiful. Once those have cooked down for 5 to 6 minutes, we're gonna season those with the same things we used for that beef. So this is kind of building that layer of seasoning. So I'm gonna go in with another 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder. And chili powder is not spicy. Chili powder is more smoky. It's kind of a mixture of spices. It's not like cayenne. We're not talking cayenne here. Also going in with a 1/4 teaspoon of that smoked paprika and a 1/4 teaspoon of my garlic powder, which probably, I go through that spice very quickly in my house. All right, give that a stir. You wanna toast those spices for about 30 seconds just to bring a little bit of life to them. Because I don't know about you, But some of my spices, they've been in there a while. Yeah. And they might start tasting a little dusty. So if you put them on a little bit of heat, that just brings them back to life and gives that deliciousness back in. All right, now into there to give that creamy kind of sauce that usually comes with that beautiful kind of burger buddy, I'm gonna go in with a little bit of flour. This is gonna help thicken it up as it cooks. So just a tablespoon of flour is gonna go right on in. Scatter that over top. This is basically making kind of a roux because we've got that fat in there. The flour and that fat are gonna mix together. You wanna toast that for about 30 seconds to a minute just to cook off that raw flour flavor. While that's cooking off though, we're gonna add in one of my favorite time savers in the kitchen, and that is tomato paste. Now, I've got tomato paste in 2 different varieties here. We've got a tube, which always feels very fancy. We have also got a can. This tube is the exact same amount as this can. This costs like 6 times more. So if you want to do this and feel like you're having toothpaste, but it's tomato, feel free, go for it. That does keep. If you're only using a little bit, definitely buy that. It'll keep well. To be honest, I always just use the can. We need about 4 tablespoons in this pan. I'm just measuring kind of willy-nilly. Unfortunately, in this can, there's about almost 6 tablespoons. So you're gonna have a couple left over. But the way that I like to save it is I actually tend to put it into a zip top bag, squish it flat, and pop it in the freezer. Then anytime I need a little bit of tomato paste, just break a little bit of that frozen stuff off, toss it in, and you're good to go. Love that. All right. Give that a stir. That tomato paste grabs onto the bottom. It gets that little tinny flavor off. And I'm gonna go in with some beef broth. Now, I've got 3 cups of low sodium beef broth here. I'm gonna add that right on in. And you wanna bring this up to a boil. This is the thing that I love about this recipe. As opposed to boiling pasta on the side, we're actually gonna cook it in this beef broth. So once this comes up to a boil, you're gonna add in your pasta. I've got about 200 grams of rotini here. I'm gonna add that on into the pan. I'm gonna give that a stir. And then you wanna boil that. Now I'm gonna cover this one. You can cover it at home as well. It'll absorb all that beautiful sauce and you're gonna end up with something that looks like this, which is a delight. Very exciting. All right. Now, to bring this together and finish this off, all we need to do is add in 2 of my favorite ingredients, and that is cream and cheese. Yeah. So we're gonna go in with about a 1/4 cup, maybe a 1/2 cup of cream. You could also do sour cream if you wanted. And then I've got anywhere from 1 to 2 cups of grated cheddar cheese. Give that a stir. Add that in, and then you re-add that beef right on in. Absolutely beautiful. Is this classy? No. Yeah? Oh, you do think it's classy. Oh my gosh. Y'all, if this is your classy dinner, I'm coming to your house. That is excellent. Look at that cheesy deliciousness, stringy and wonderful. Okay, to me this looks like a dream. I'm gonna serve this up. Let's bring it on over. The cheese, the tomato, the cream, what more could you want?
Hey, Mary here. What did you think? Drop your comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe for more of the good stuff.